the fast of the Nativity, getting ready for Christmas for 43 days, as we just heard in the Synaxar. And with this fast, we are beginning another season of the church where we will go to the whole cycle again of fasting and feasts. And I'm always reminded that this year should be different than the previous one. The gospel of this morning is a kind of hard because the Lord wants us to hate ourselves, our family, in order to follow Him. But let me explain it in the light of another piece of passage of the gospel from Luke chapter 8. As you see here on the screen, it is about the bleeding woman for 12 years. A woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding, and she could not find cure. Coming up behind Jesus, she touched the fringe of his robe. Immediately, the bleeding stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. And everyone denied it. And Peter said, "Master, this whole crowd is pressing up against you. Why are you saying, 'Who's touching me?' Everybody's around you." But Jesus said, "Someone deliberately touched me, for I felt healing power go out from me." When the woman realized that she could not stay hidden, she began to tremble and fell to her knees in front of him. And the whole crowd heard her explain why she had touched him and that she had been immediately healed. "Daughter," he said to her, "your faith has made you well. Go in peace." So we see this woman being part of the crowd, but definitely being in the crowd does not mean that you are part of the crowd. And she stood out in that crowd. It's easy in our church, actually in any liturgical church, whether Orthodox, Catholic, Coptic, Greek, Russian, you name it. It is very easy to hide in the crowd behind the season of the church. We can definitely keep you busy, right? With the fast and feasts, activities all year round. There is a feast of a saint almost every day. We can do liturgy every day. We can keep you really busy, and we can wear you out, by the way. And this is what happens, is that we get busy with doing and following the season of the church, but we never receive healing. It can be deceiving. Actually, being in the crowd can be a numbing agent. That I am fasting, I'm feasting, I'm attending. Even my children, I am raising them up to join the crowd. And for us parents, think about how we encourage our children to join the crowd. Be a good deacon, be a good girl in the choir, or a Sunday school teacher. Our time, we push our children to be just join the crowd. And we send the message that it is good enough. Hey, if you're a good deacon, come on time, attend every Sunday, or if you're a good girl, dress up appropriately, attend Sunday school, be this, be that, you will get our approval, and you will get the approval of the church, approval of the crowd. If you act according to the code, we have a kind of code. Every church, every culture has its own code. If we follow, we are part of that crowd, and we are good enough. We are okay. But this woman refused. And she stood out in that crowd. to the extent that Jesus felt this power was being drawn out of him. Imagine that. You are in the crowd, hundreds or thousands around Christ, and only one receives healing. So imagine all your life being part of the crowd, and you think you're doing okay, but there is no power, there is no healing, there is no liberty, there is no growth, there is nothing. We fast, but we only fast from types of food, and we fall in the trap of who is eating what. To the extent when we go to a visit or we're having a big party, and we look into the plates of other people and see, oh, you're not fasting, or you're fasting, who's fasting and who's not. We do that because being in the crowd, the code is that we should follow. But it turns into a judgmental way of measuring up people with no healing and with no growth. He said, someone deliberately touched me, for I felt healing power go out of me. Deliberately. If you are starting the fast today or tomorrow or any other day, are you fasting deliberately with a purpose, with a special request that you seek and you pray every day and you fast for it every day, so that at the end of the fast you celebrate either the answer of this prayer or some kind of answer from God? Or you're just fasting because it is the season? We should be fasting. And part of our moral code is to follow the church, which is good enough, but it is not good enough to receive healing. What is the purpose of this new season of the church? What kind of power you personally will be deliberately asking from God in this fast? I want you to think for a moment. Deliberately fasting, what kind of power you want to receive? Go back to the gospel of this morning. Now great multitude or crowd went with him, and he turned and he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father, mother, wife, and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life, also he cannot be my disciple. Which we can translate hating yourself, meaning into being frustrated enough with yourself, with your weakness, with your struggles, that you are about to receive a special power from God. Most of us, we make friends with our weaknesses. We are at peace with one of our sins or two of them. We try to change them, we try to overcome them, but it didn't work. Therefore, I settle for my weakness. I said, this is me. I am who I am. I can't change after 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Don't ask me to stop doing this. I am still good enough person. Yes, you are still good enough person, but you are not receiving what you need from power from God. You are not up to the image of Christ that you are created for. So the change will not happen unless you are frustrated enough with your weakness, or hate yourself and hate your relationships, hate your everyday routine that is not getting you anywhere. So they tell us that in order for change to happen, the pain of change would be much less than the pain of staying the same. Think about it. This woman, bleeding for 12 years, she went to all the doctors. and she still suffered from that bleeding. And she was in the crowd. She had a choice to melt with the crowd, not be known, just following the crowd without any healing, which is staying the same, versus going out, reaching for Christ, and touching Him regardless of what people are saying, and receiving that healing power. So again, the pain of change, going out of the crowd, was much less than the pain of staying the same with her condition. So think about this. What is the pain of you staying the same now? With your weaknesses, with your struggles, with your frustrations, with the hidden sins, with the hidden weaknesses, with the status quo. It may be comfortable enough, but there is no healing. How about if you change? How about if this fast can be different? Forget about food, what you will eat or drink, meat or milk or dairy. This is not the problem. But the problem is that when you fast, you deny yourself. You deny your right to be comfortable. Again, not about food, but if you deny your comfort and you stand up for prayer when you're really tired, or if you deny your leisure time or your Facebook time and you set aside half hour with the Word of God when you delve deeply in that Word, or just pray, or just reconcile with someone that you didn't talk to for years. If you fast deliberately, denying yourself, giving up your frustration, and doing something different, then you will be really fasting. Then you will really be receiving the healing power from Jesus. One example is that in Psalm 63, David the prophet said that, "O God, you are my guard. Early I will seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water. O God, you are my God. Early I will seek you." If you deny yourself half hour of extra sleep and just wake up early for your quiet time during this fast, because you are thirsty for God, you want to meet with Him, you will receive healing power. You will grow, you will change. Or just as simple as coming late to church for liturgy versus coming on time. We go to work on time. Why you can't come to church on time at 9:30? Why? It's a really bad habit in our Orthodox community that people just come whenever they can or they want, and then it becomes a habit. And again, I'm just judging anyone here in particular. I am talking about our culture as Coptic Orthodox community and also all Orthodox churches. Service starts, and then people will come again and again and again, and all the way up to communion time. Why? Why we can't come early? Because we are thirsty for God. So this kind of attitude is not only about fasting, it's not only about coming on time, but it's about all your life. Do you want to be just part of the crowd, going with the crowd, disappearing in the crowd, or do you want to stand out like this woman? So So this fast is another opportunity, and this season is another opportunity for us to really put our hands on the healing power of God. Think about it personally. Don't just join the church when they are fasting, but you will be fasting deliberately. You will be praying deliberately. You will be serving deliberately, because it's about you and Him, not just being good enough to be part of the crowd. This is why He told us, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his everything, does not deny himself, does not carry the cross and follow me, he or she cannot be my disciples. And yes, all the time we like to hear comforting words and comforting verses and promises, and yes, they are for us. But this is only one part of the relationship. The other part is my part. If God will comfort me, if God will heal me, yes, He does, He will, He desires to heal you and to comfort you and to assure you and to give you everything you want. But there's another half of the relation, half of this interaction. This is God's half. My half is to seek Him earnestly and deliberately with all my heart and make it really personal. Yes, we come as a crowd to worship God together in the spirit of the fellowship, but it's not enough. See, this woman, she was part of the crowd, 12 years, and nothing happened. Nobody could heal her. But when she was frustrated enough, so I'm really asking you today to be frustrated. To be frustrated with whatever you're struggling with. Frustrated with your weakness. Don't settle for it. Don't make friends with your sin. Don't be at peace with your status quo. Change. Jesus came to make a revolution in our life. Because if you read the gospel, there was tension between the Pharisees and the people of the law who wanted Jesus to be the same like the Old Testament. Hey, be the same, conform, tell us the same stories, tell us the same expectations that we are comfortable with now. But He wouldn't. And He was different, and He pushed them beyond the limit. Why? Because He came to challenge, He came to change. And some people changed, and the other, they didn't, and they walked away. So, again, don't be just part of the crowd. Stand out. The pain of change should be less than the pain of staying the same. Think about it for this fast, and my hope and my prayer is that as a community, as a church, individually we'll experience growth, because when we individually experience growth, we as a group and collectively will grow all together. But if each one of us is not growing, just staying the same, the church will be weak, the church will be the same, the church will be just a routine and just an institution that we belong to, just a club, a community. We come to be part of for a couple of hours, feel good, and leave and go home. No, we'll never settle for that. Each one of us individually is responsible for his life and the church, for the strength of the church. This is why we confess. And I know confession is not convenient. This is why almost 99% of us do not confess anymore. Why? Because it is not convenient. Why should I tell someone my stuff? You know what? There is healing in talking. There is healing in talking. When you talk about your stuff, there is healing. This is why we need to come and seek help. But we don't confess anymore. Why? Because it is not convenient. So I would rather be convenient with my sins and my struggles than going out and say, hey, I need help. I need to touch the garment of Jesus. I need power. I need forgiveness. So fasting, confession, prayer, all the good stuff is not just to be a good girl or a good boy, but for your own healing. Start, come to church on time. Start to seek confession, seek help. Start to taking your life seriously and seek change. May this fast be a different one. To him all glory forever. Amen.